Okay, I'm just okay. 1 second. Good morning, everyone, and good afternoon to everyone also who is joining us in the afternoon. Can you all hear me okay? Can you see my slides?
Yes, we can hear you and see your slides. Thank you, Prof.
Excellent. So, Professor Anuj, thank you very much for inviting me. It's a great pleasure, and I'm honored to speak to such a wonderful audience. Thank you very much for giving me the opportunity to also share some of my understanding of the topics. I really like the theme of the conference, and also I'm very grateful for you giving the opportunity, and also thank you very much for being patient with me. I know you sent emails, and it's I might have been very slow, but because we have been very busy with other things. Now, I'm trying to cover in this, it's quite a big topic, sustainable development and management in a digital world. And I'm going to look at this topic from different angles. The first thing, I will give an introduction about the world as we live in now, because sustainable development is one of the themes connecting all of us together. And therefore, it's important we really understand where we are now. Secondly, I will look into...
Why does it smell so bad here?
I'm not sure. Maybe Dr. Anuj, you can mute people, maybe?
Yeah, I'm just doing it. By mistake, somebody's mic.
No, it's fine. That's normally, yeah. Technology is very good, but it needs very difficult management, really. So shall I continue?
Yes, sir, you can continue now.
Okay, so I'm going to give a brief introduction about the subject, but from a global perspective, because we are living in a global environment. And then I will give a small introduction and brief about why knowledge management is critical for everything we do today. And then I will go into sustainable development, and then I will answer your question. Now, if at any point you want to stop me, you can stop me. I mean, at the end of the day, I will just follow the chair instructions. So quickly, the data I used, and we always used, we try to use data which is available to everyone, open source, free of charge. You don't need any password to download it. So we use data from the World Bank from 1998, so almost 26 years. United Nations Development Program, Human Development Report from 1980. I'm very pleased also to mention here, WSD represented by Dr. Widan and our international coordinator. Again, they have been in New York. They're still in New York. We are currently in advanced discussion with the United Nations Development Program, joining them for a major transformation project in the Arab countries. We also have lots of data from UNESCO Statistical Yearbook, in SIAD, the Global Innovation Index from 2011, World Health Reports, United Nations various reports for nearly 26 years, and the Global Competitiveness Report. So all these reports are available. You can download them. They are free of charge. WSD has been working, the World Association for Sustainable Development, and my personal knowledge and learning is reflected from my engagement with many organizations across the world, whether they are universities, they are government, they are United Nations, even issues or organizations like Emirates Women Police Association, organization like publishers. We learn a lot from these publishers, how things are happening. So it's not all the learning from government, private sector, and so on and so on. Now, I encourage you all to visit our video library. There is a lot of lectures, notes in this video library. It's been cited by many people as one of wonderful library to watch. It's in YouTube, where you can see a lot of talks like what I'm going to do today from United Nations, public figures, politicians, academicians, students, young, and so on. So I encourage you to go and see. I also encourage all of you to join us in this big platform we launched. We've been working on it for 3 years. The last launch was at the United Nations in Geneva, which is called SDGs Universities, bringing every universities into this platform so they can communicate and learn from each other. We can talk about this later, but please go and visit the website. And I think you can afford to miss the opportunity of joining us here. Quickly, my introduction. Changing or the challenges post-COVID-19. COVID-19 came and left us as a virus. So we are now allowed to travel. We are now allowed to meet. We are allowed to go and have coffee together. But the consequences of COVID is still with us. And this is very important when it comes to business and management. The consequences of the COVID-19 are still with us, but we are free to travel now. The virus may have left us, or is being suppressed, or is being our experts on virology or viruses or medical or the health sector, they managed to control it, if we call it that way. But the consequences and the legacy of this COVID-19 is still with us. This is my famous slide. I always do this slide because this brings us to exactly where we are. Now, we started at the world together, our revolution with industrialization. And then the whole world went into information revolution, and then the whole world went into globalization. As we speak today, 27th of September, 2024, we are in the globalization stage. But that doesn't mean we all been through these revolutions equally the same. Germany, for example, went through industrialization a long time ago, and there is one of the leading world power in industrialization. If you compare Germany as a country with the entire African continent, and I repeat, if you compare Germany with the entire African continent, African progress in industrialization is less than 5%. And you can see what is Germany is doing and has reached. So yes, we all went through these revolutions together, but not equally the same. And the proof of this is that you can look at your country, you can look and see where are you, but we all went through this the same: industrialization, information, and globalization. Some are benefiting from the three revolutions, some are still struggling to industrialize their economy. Industrialization of the economy is one of the key factors behind the global power of China. The Chinese economy didn't come from nowhere. It didn't come because there are 1 billion people. No, they are producing, they are manufacturing. Industrialization in China is top in every aspect. And one of my students told me, if you go to TikTok or you go to YouTube, ask any question about any problem you want to have a device to solve it, and you will find it already being produced in China. So this is something we all need to learn about it. Interestingly, when I was in India, because Kumar is inviting me from India, I asked one of my colleagues who traveled with me at some point, and I said to him, do you know the world's largest producer of milk? And we were in India. So you need to look at these facts. India produces a lot of milk. Biotechnology in India is a very long story. I have seen and visited Amity Biotechnology Lab many, many years ago. I can't remember, 2002 or 3. So you need to look to these countries, how they developed, how they reach where they are. Tata here in the UK is being bought by, our major industries here are bought by Indians. The vaccine, which we enjoyed here in the United Kingdom, it was produced in India, and so on. So another, I think you might to mute people, Professor. So another thing I want to also clarify here, 3 terminologies: digitization, digitalization, and digital transformation. These are 3 terminologies being regularly used. Let's make sure we understand them. Digitization is the process of making information available and accessible in a digital format. Digitalization is the process of considering how best to apply digitalized information to simplify specific operations. And digital transformation is the process of devising new business applications that integrate all the digitalized data and digitalized applications. I know it might sound, oh, Alam is confusing us from the start. No, but the idea is not to confuse you, is to tell you what is happening. Let's read them again. Digitization is the process of making information available and accessible in a digital format. Digitalization is the process of considering how best to apply digitized information to simplify specific operation. And this is where China is doing all these excellently. China is one of the best in all the three aspects. Digital transformation, the process of devising new business applications that integrate all the digitized data and digitalized applications. The reason I mention these two introductory slides, so you understand, if you go back to my title, those who join us late, my title about sustainable development and management in a digitalized or a digital world. So you need to really at least understand this digital world we're living in. Now, quickly moving. Now, COVID, you all witnessed COVID. Countries, this is to prove to you, we did not all go or went through revolution equally the same. Sudan is not like India, India is not like China, China is not like the UK, and so on and so forth. When countries all the world went through this global lockdown, we were not all ready or prepared to this global pandemic. Some were so high in their readiness and readiness to deal with a virus like this, including the US, United Kingdom, Canada, and others. Some are in the middle, like China, India, and others. And some, they were so unprepared. Example is Egypt. I know it's shocking to some people because Egypt, I remember I was interviewed in one of the TV channels when Egypt opened a factory to produce the vaccine, which was a remarkable thing Egypt did. A big factory was opened in Egypt to help African countries and Palestine countries or countries where they are under war, where they have no other way of getting the vaccine. That was opened in Egypt. But still, Egypt wasn't one of the top countries prepared for such a thing. Saudi Arabia was well prepared compared to other countries. Then you can choose, you can see India and China in the middle of the whole world. Brazil and some other Latin American were well prepared to deal with the pandemic. That's one information. This piece of information to demonstrate these three revolutions in the whole world, we did not go through them equally the same. The important thing we need to take from here, this environment we live in now is very complex and fast changing. Very complex and fast changing. Just look to the conflict now between Lebanon and Israel, or Hezbollah and Israel. When Netanyahu was leaving Israel yesterday, by the time he reached New York, and by the time he will speak today, a lot of changes have been, particularly on the number of people losing their life. So you can see it's a fast moving and it's very complex. Now, organization, public and private, and this is very important word. We always now need in business school, in universities, to refer to the organization as public and private, because the United Nations, since 2018, those who were with us in the conference, they use this word very importantly, private and public and private, because the two should go together. We can't achieve any sustainable development without the private sector involvement. So organizations, they really need to reconnect with community. Why I'm mentioning community? Because everything now in our geopolitics is community. This impact of global warming or climate change, look to what happened in Pakistan. Completely wiped out by the flooding last year. Just last night, this morning in the news, Florida in the US, they have no electricity, no power from yesterday. So it's all about community, about people, about you, about me, and others. So we need to be take every decision now, take into account community is all about us, community. And business, as usual, will not continue as it is. And those from Europe, or particularly from the UK, and more specifically London, one of the largest and the biggest shopping street in the entire Europe is called Oxford Street. If you go today, you go to Oxford Street, one shop is open, possibly the third or the fourth is closed. Imagine the biggest shopping street in London, 1, 2, 3, closed. 1, 2, 3, closed, C-L-O-S-E-D. That means they cannot do business in one of the largest shopping centers. This can tell you how difficult the environment. Almost 41, some reports are saying 41, some are saying 37 universities in the United Kingdom are likely to be bankrupt. They have no money to even pay for their staff. And there's many reasons for this. So we really need to understand where we are right now. Now, there's a lot of consequences. I said COVID, the virus left us, but the consequences are there. There's many, many consequences. I just picked 4 for the sake of this lecture, for the sake of this conference, for the sake of your team. One of them, changing expectations of employers. Employers now, worldwide, they don't give you a long-term contract. They want you or expect you to work from home. They expect you to work more hours, not less hours. I am on this computer sometimes Saturdays, Sundays, all of them are full. Of course, you teach the students, you do the basic thing during the 9 to 5, but there's a lot of expectations from employer. You come to the meeting, you don't come to the meeting, they expect you to do the same. Secondly, increased competition. Competition is tough, is very, very tough, because there is less income for people to use, and there is more demand for services. And you can see the struggle we have here in the UK. Reduction in income, we all struggled. In the UK, 30 to 40% is reported to be an increase in the basic stuff we buy from supermarket. Bread, milk, sugar, this basic stuff. They increase by 30 to 40%. So imagine your salary is being eroded by 30 to 40% by the basic needs. Tea, coffee, sugar, milk, bread. Now, the other big, and if you like, phenomena or changes in things in the last 4 or 5 years is new technologies. This Zoom we are using now is not new. We used it before, but people didn't realize the potential of this Zoom or the online technologies until we were locked down. We have no other option than to go to the online teaching and online communication. So expectation of employers all over the world change, increased competition, reduction in income, and changing technology. These are the 3 or 4 I'm going to discuss on my lecture. Now let's go back to the basic concept, because the people attending this lecture, not necessarily they're coming from a pure business. I know I'm giving this talk to a business school, a management school, but I can see that there's some professor here, some of them I know, they are not from a business school. Let's go back to the first lecture in any business and management school. We teach students in the business and management school in the first lecture, what is an organization? Whether it is British Airways, whether it is Etihad Airlines, whether it is, Aramco in Saudi Arabia, whatever, small company, big company, what is an organization? And we will teach the student and tell them the organization, it's a body, it's a structure, it's a house, have 4 pillars. These 4 pillars are: number 1, group of people, professor, cleaner, drivers, whatever it is. And there is a bundle of resources. And we say them resources are classified in 2 parts. One of them is called threshold resources, are the resources I need to survive, not to close my business on Oxford Street. And then we have what we call it strategic resources, which they give me a strategic advantage. And the example we give in most textbook, a brain surgeon, if a hospital in the UK or any other part of the world, if you have a brain surgeon in the hospital, you have a strategic advantage because there is not much of a brain surgeon worldwide. But if you have, you must have a consultant on AI, on accident and emergency, A&E. So A&E department is an essential resources you must have in order to operate as a hospital. But a brain surgeon is a strategic resources. This is what we do. So there's a lot of chapters here. We're talking about 6 chapters so far. Number 3 is an economic actor. What does economic actor mean? There is a money going in and out. And money is money, whatever it is. If you are running a charity like Oxfam, or if you are a British Airways, there is salary, there is you pay for supply and for the cost of supplies, you pay for staff, and so on and so forth. The fourth one, which came to textbook in the late 80s, early 90s, is called accumulation of knowledge and learning. Accumulation. It's not just knowledge and learning. It is accumulation. You keep accumulating money. You keep saving. You add more. You're not going to stop saying, oh, I have enough saving. No. Women in particular, interestingly, worldwide, lots of studies said women across the whole world, they love gold. There is no disagreement. Gold is number one, chocolate number two. If you want to give a gift to a woman, they said, you will never go wrong with gold. You will never go wrong with chocolate. But gold, they will not say, oh, I'm happy. I have 2 kilos of gold. That's enough for me. I got lots of gifts to them. My husband gave me whatever it is. No, they would like to keep accumulating more. So accumulation is very critical word, and knowledge and learning. What we are doing here, there's 2 different definitions of learning and knowledge. So these are the 4 pillars of the organization. We need to take them so we can drag ourselves into that concept of digital world and then sustainable development and management. ABCD is an example. So any organization is a group of people, bundle of resources, economic actor, accumulation of knowledge and learning. Without those 4 of them, we cannot have a successful and sustainable organization. So sustainability of any organization depends on the 4 of them, not on 3 of them, the 4 of them. And there is a classic example of airlines long time ago. Emirates airline, which is leading the world. Many people didn't know that. Emirates is not that old, the oldest airline like British Airways. Many people didn't know who invented this chair in the business class, which can then be converted into a bed, which is a luxury you enjoy in a business class or a first class likely. Invented by British Airways. British Airways, one of the oldest. But who used that technology and take it to the next level is Emirates, Qatar Airways, Etihad, because they took it. And now I have seen a video 2 or 3 days ago about Singapore Airline, unbelievably. It's like a bedroom, like a flat. You're flying in a flat. I think it's hugely changing because they know there's people willing to pay 5,000, 6,000, 7,000 pounds. And again, the first airline on earth to use internet on air is not Emirates, it's not British Airways, it's Singapore Airline. So you can now see how the organizations, whatever they are using, they try to maximize this in order to be a leader. Now, quickly, the nature of business is changing. I think you all agree. I wouldn't spend too much time. We used to be structure-based, and now we are a knowledge-based. This is not now after COVID. This is for a long time. Since in the 1980s, 90, when this idea of knowledge management came, we moved from structure to knowledge. And this COVID proved that. Now I am from my home. I'm talking to you from my home. So it's all about empowering people, about giving people the power to produce, giving the people the power to participate. That's why you can see the outcry for democracy, the outcry for justice, women's rights. We need to do this because we are now participating, and we are participating because we are in a knowledge-based economy. We are participating. I know from the people now listening to this, they are from all over the world. So we still do the procedure control compliance, and there is a difference between the 2, which I will take into account. Now, this is a very old case or a publication from MIT, very long, very old, 1977. So 23 plus 24, we talk about 50 years. It's obvious. At that time, when this study was completed, if you are not close to me in the workplace, I am highly likely I will not communicate with you. So if you are in like maybe a couple of meters, not even a couple of, we don't talk about kilometers or miles here. We talk about very little space. So based on proximity, people are not likely to collaborate very often if they are more than 50 feet apart. This is in the past. We don't communicate, we don't collaborate. But now, no, we do. Why? Because things are changing. Number one, we are dealing with this connected workplace. Yes, as I speak, we have partners in India. We have a university working with us. I visited 2 of them or 3 of them. We have partners in the Middle East. We have in Africa. As we speak, might be they are attending. Yes, one of my famous publications about open access in Africa, I published it with a professor from Abadan University in Nigeria, and the paper became even one of the papers being published in the International Journal of Technology Management, free of charge on the front page. I met my co-author almost 25 years after at Sussex University. He came to join a conference. But we communicated, we exchanged things. At that time, it's not through Zoom, emails. So with Dr. Nwagwe, I published this paper. No, we published 2 actually. We haven't met because we are disconnected, but we are very much connected. More complex work environment, as I mentioned to you. Now you can see everything is being called, is it online, face-to-face, or hybrid? And the word hybrid is becoming very sexy and very popular now. Interaction with unknown people. And here, I would love to give you the example of one of my colleagues at Sussex University, Professor Carol. Carol, you can go and look at this. It was in the BBC 2 days ago, just 2 days ago. If anyone interested from accounting, he can contact me. I will send it to him. Carol is one of the top professors in the United Kingdom, worldwide. Her expertise is corruption and hacking in the financial systems. So her expertise, she's been known worldwide. She's a professor who can tell you how to avoid corruption and hacking in the financial system. She's been hacked and she lost like 80,000 pounds. I think so. I can't remember the amount. Did they mention it or not? If you watch the interview on the BBC 2 days ago, she said, what surprised me, how powerful these people, which we don't know them, they hacked me. I am the expert on helping people to protect themselves from financial fraud and corruption. They hacked an expert. So that's why, because we're dealing with unknown people. Cross-location, yes. Cross-organization, cross-cultural, this is critical. Cross-cultural is critical because now we're really in a global environment. We're really in a global environment. I mean, the issue about the first Indian heritage prime minister, Rishi Sunak, the first couple of all gone now. We are now the one who's standing, even what's his name, the Trump is keep telling, well, I don't know whether she's black or she's Indian. It doesn't matter. We are in a global environment. It's done. So the idea, he's Indian, he's a Sudanese, he's American, this is all already gone. Like it, we don't like it, that is we overcome. So we really, really need to understand, we need to maximize the benefits and the advantage of the cultural diversity for our advantage. And that's where you will be missing a lot of opportunity because people from different backgrounds, they bring a lot of cultural input to the organization seamless, quickly. So all organizations, they wanted to build relationship, growing conversation, very important. Conversation, talking to each other, disseminating information. So this is what we call it the co-production. You need people why they're building relation, growing conversation, disseminating. If you go to big companies, one of the big companies here in London hosted one of our public-private partnership with the United Nations. They have a restaurant, a complete restaurant near Trafalgar Square. If someone wants in London to go and have lunch there, tell me, we can go. This is their own lunch, not open to the public. But because having a restaurant in a big multinational like this means a lot. Co-production, talking, and so on and so on. I remember my first job as part-time lecturer in Edinburgh. This is 1998, 99. I used to sit down with the students in the canteen when we're having lunch. I will say, come sit here. You can't believe the power and the value of having lunch with your own students in the canteen, eating fish and chips, whatever it is. The more we grow, we don't really engage with the students because we don't have lunch with them. We used to play football with the students. I remember this in Edinburgh. So you can see from doing this, so it's all about conversation, about relation, about dissemination of information. Quickly, 2 things going into digital. There are 2 big challenges. Number 1, how do you meet the changing business needs? Business needs continuously change, as I said earlier. And the IT cost and complexity is very costly. Oh, Alam, yeah, we can have a website. To design a website, It costs maybe 200, 300. Indians are one of the best worldwide in designing website. They can design website within 1 day if you want. But the issue is not about designing a website, about how to maintain, how to update the website. That's the issue. Good organization, they will now tell, okay, Alam is speaking today, they tell people, and there's a lot of things to happen, very expensive. To have sophisticated AI applications is very expensive. And there's many of them. Dr. Petru Dimitri, our partner from in the UN, and he was saying to me, one of the things I discovered, not AI applications, they will give you the same answer. There's a lot of applications. You need to be careful which you want to subscribe to. So these are all having impact on the productivity. In fact, many countries, including Qatar, which is one of the richest countries in the world, they reported in their United Nations report about their progress towards sustainable development is productivity. One of the things we need to do to produce more. And that's why I keep saying China is leading in the world because they produce, they deploy technology and so on. So you need a technology map. Maybe one of the messages I will give today for any organization, you need to develop a roadmap, which means a technology strategy. You need to have a strategy for technology because everything is technology based. So you really need to look at these issues from a one-way communication to a full cooperation. These are all available in the internet. You don't need to spend too much time, but these facts, some people, they don't believe them. They don't even realize them. There is 8 billion in the world, 5.6 billion of them, they're having a mobile phone. Okay. How many they are using the internet? 5.44. And those using the social media, they're 5.7. Oh, okay, Alam, what is this about? This is about, there are people as we speak, forget about the war. The war is one thing in Gaza, in Ukraine, in Sudan. But if you come in the normal situation, look at Sudan, for example, in the normal, before the war, if you count the number of people who are actually using the internet, is very little. And that's what Tunisia did in order. Tunisia moved all the way in terms of achieving sustainable development or improving the livelihood of people by investing on ICT. Egypt is doing the same. Morocco is doing the same. But you can see the importance of being connected to the internet. What's important to me, and I will say to you right now, very loud, internet. The whole issue is the internet. It's not how I have two phones here. I don't know if you see, I don't know, my camera is open. This is, if I give it to my daughter as a gift, she will not take it. This is expensive. But the difference between them, they are nice device. This is iPhone, this is an all blah, blah, blah. No, this one got huge. The numbers here, the people I communicate with them here, they include ministers, top UN officials, VIB, students, activists, everything. It's about the internet. Both of them, they will be like a brick walls if there is no internet. The idea is the internet. Always remember, the digitalization of the world is about internet. It's not about the device. The device could be very expensive, but we need to make sure you understand this internet. Now, in 2017, the United Nations came with a new indicator called digital native. And this is very critical. This is the indicator countries should look at it, or the organization should take it seriously. Digital native means the number of young generations, 15 to 24. In some countries, I say, okay, let's consider your generation up to 30, for example. But officially, really, the UN counted 15 to 24. In any country, they have been using any ICT products and services for the last 5 years. And when they applied this, now guess what? It's not the US, it's not the United Kingdom which came first. Korea came first. And I had examined the PhD students for Professor Ron McQuaid, one of his students. And when I read in Korea, almost 93% of the economy comes from small and medium enterprises. Korea, from the United Nations report, is one of the countries where is the highest advertised internet broadband strengths. We have people in the UK here still complaining to the government that they are not getting a broadband. So it's all about the internet, and it's all about the children, our 15 to 24, using internet. And that's why companies and businesses, they need to realize these young generations, you employ them in your company, They are so advanced in the way they deal. They live, they born, they live, and they know how to use these devices. So digital native is a critical figure you need to look at it. There's a lot of report from 2017 all the now. All households have high-speed internet access. This is Korea, the one came number 1. And many reports from the UN and researchers, they said that one of the countries managed to overcome the financial crisis of 2008, Korea, because of ICT, or the digital natives. Driven growth and innovation, increased transparency, and made the country one of the ICT exporter in the world. Many of my students in London, in Sussex, I asked them, who is number 1 in the world as an ICT exporter? Number 1 in the world exporting or sending out, selling ICT. Again, I get the jump. America, UK, and so on. It's not, it's Korea. And this is where you can see, this is where the world you need to open up your eyes. Now, quickly, the daily time is spent on social media. This is a critical, this is one of my beautiful graph. You can generate this from the internet, easy, available. You can generate now, July, whatever it is. If you look to this graph, our Kenyan friends, citizen, they spend almost 4 hours on social media. And our friends or citizen or our colleague from Japan, they spend less than 1 hour in the internet, in the social media. So you can see the GDP of Japan and you can look at the GDP of Kenya. Then you can see there is something going on here. Imagine someone is spending an average of 4 hours of his or her time on social media. What's he's doing? If he's doing business, clearly the GDP of the country will be very high. This is not against Kenya, but if you look most of the African, and you can see the trend between particular similarities in this country. South Africa came number 2, Brazil, Philippines, and so on. But if you look to this side, on the other side here, the number of hours is spent on social media is different. So that we need to do lots of study here, lots of research. What exactly people doing on social media? 4 hours is a lot. 4 hours is a lot. 3 hours is a lot. 3 hours takes you from London, not 3 hours. 3 hours you'll fly from London, Heathrow Airport, all the way to Tunisia, to Morocco, to Egypt. You can go to Egypt in less than 4 hours. 6 hours will fly you to India, and someone is spending 4 hours of that in social media. Really, you need to understand this. Okay, if I now learn in Kenya or in South Africa or in Brazil, they spend a lot of time on social media, then I should be focused on how to use that for my advantage. And that's what happened in a country like Saudi Arabia. If you look to Saudi Arabia, it is one of the countries, the digital native is very high. Many people didn't know that. I keep telling this, even Saudis themselves, I told them in lots of training, I said to them, do you know your country? The digital native, the Saudi, they use computer, they use ICT, they use mobile phone a lot. That's why Saudi Arabia now moved into one of the highest, if you like, progressing country in terms of ICT or digital generally. They're so advanced now because they use, a lot of their youngest are using computer. And in fact, a research done a long time ago to find the top cities in the world, who they do a tweet. You know tweeting? Now I'm asking you, can you quickly on the chat tell me, top cities in the world, which are the country or the city, the citizen of that city having the highest number of tweets worldwide. Quickly on the chat, I want to see names of cities. Give me names of cities. Which one is number 1 in the whole world? Quickly, because of the time. The top city in the world in the number of tweets, or just mention any one of the top 10. Quickly. I'm looking at the chat. Quickly. Top cities worldwide in the number of tweets. Tweeting. We all tweet. Give me cities quickly. This is one of my tests to make sure you're following me. Quickly, what are the top cities worldwide in the number of tweeting? You know tweeters? I can't see any answer. No one is following me. Top cities in the world, top 10. Yeah, this is disappointing. No one is mentioning any. Oh, Mumbai, Kuwait. Okay. Kuwait is not one of them. Again, I'm looking for other, Los Angeles, Dubai. The top city found at that research was Jakarta. And in the entire Arab world, there is only one city at that result was Riyadh, Kingdom of Saudi Arabia. Riyadh is the only city in the entire Arab region. The tweet is number 10 worldwide. And number 1 worldwide was Jakarta. So you can see, when you go to Indonesia, you will see high building, you will see a lot of things. Indonesia is not an easy country, by the way. It's one of the top in the G20, remember before, and so on. Let's quickly move. What is knowledge? If I ask any one of you, what is knowledge? He will say to me, the amount of books I have in my library, like my bag, the amount of application I have, the amount of blah, blah, blah. And normally people, if you ask them, do you know the wealth you have from your knowledge? High likely he will not give you an answer. Knowledge is a wealth, the same like if you ask him how many kilos of gold you have in your wardrobe, the women likely they will say, yeah, I have 2.6 kilo. If you ask the man how many thousands of pounds or dollars you have in your account, he remember it. Oh, I have 20,000 saving, I know, roughly around 20,000. But if you ask him, do you know the knowledge you have? The answer normally, I don't know. And there is a lot of reason for this, which we'll go through them again. United Nations realized the importance of knowledge for the private and public sector. And they called people in 2016. I can't remember exactly. I think 2016. They called 40 people from every aspect. Academia, NGOs, private sector, public sector. And we went to the United Nations University in Hamilton in Canada. They said to us, you are the expert. What is knowledge? So they call it the faces of K star. And we met there. You can see the faces. They are representing every part of the world, the NGOs, women, men, everything. No one actually, sorry, I have to go back to this one. When we went there, no one was able, or we were not able, the 40 people of us, 38 actually, in 4 days to agree on what is knowledge management. But we agreed on one thing. Knowledge management has, or knowledge is a definition which has many other similar definitions need to be understood when we talk about knowledge. Knowledge transfer, knowledge dissemination, knowledge interaction, knowledge brokering, and so on and so on. So when you define knowledge, you need to understand there is a lot of definition people use. They think it is knowledge, but it's not knowledge, but actually it is also relating to knowledge. Knowledge transfer, you're transferring what? You're transferring knowledge, and so on. So we found there is 400 definition for knowledge management, and I will come through this quickly. Now, quickly, because I want to come to our, to tie this up with the lecture. In 1999, which is 25 years ago, Sagasti, this is a famous talk. They call it the UNESCO talk, very famous. The 21st century talk, UNESCO talk, what they call it, a lot of talks. This is a guy, you know him, Francisco Sagasti said, my big worries in the next 20 or 25 years, now we are now, okay, there is a real risk of 2 civilizations emerging. One based on the capacity to generate and utilize knowledge, the other passively. Passively, I want you to have this very carefully underlined. Passively mean you're sitting on your chair like here, waiting for someone to give you whatever he wants to give you. And he may deprive you even to give you something. So there is a 2 civilization likely to happen if we do not capture the advantage of the knowledge, all of us together. One will enjoy, will have the capacity to produce knowledge like China, Japan, India, UK, Canada, Netherlands, and so on. The other passively receiving knowledge from abroad and deprived of the ability to modify it. Remember the vaccine. We are waiting for the Chinese vaccine. We are waiting for AstraZeneca. We are waiting for the vaccine from, from America. From abroad and deprived the ability to modify it. The world now faces the prospect of this knowledge divide becoming a serious, if you like, line dividing between not the rich and poor, but between the 2 civilizations. If you want, that's why I have been very lucky to teach in the university face-to-face and to train Chinese students. The Chinese students, I found them, I taught almost every nationality during my 25 years here in the UK. But they are polite by nature. They've been born like this in China. They are not vocal. I always say to my colleagues, the Chinese, I call them not vocal. In the classroom, if you ask a question, the Chinese students, they grown up like this. They're so polite, they're so humble in front of their professor. So they don't, you need to trigger them. Yes, can you please answer me? But they are so knowledgeable. If you ask them, they know a lot of things. If you give them a task, they deliver. Yes, they might struggle with the English. They might not present themselves vocally like our European students. Our European students, they are very vocal. This is culture. You remember I said cross cultures. So, but they play everything with the knowledge. That's why China is producing a lot of everything. So you need to make sure you understand knowledge, and that's why I really encourage you all to read this report, Towards Knowledge Society by the United Nations, by the UNESCO, and also try to understand knowledge, because it's becoming the critical factor for everything we do in private and public sector. Drucker is one of the people we normally refer to. He said, knowledge is the source of wealth. It brings you money. It gives you power. America is powerful, partly because of knowledge. Knowledge gives you power. How do we define it? It's something we apply to tasks we already know, it becomes productivity, or we apply to something new and it becomes innovation. This is knowledge. This is the best way to define knowledge, he said. But there is so many definitions. World Bank, United Nations, they always refer to it as the resources. Many people refer to it as assets, as tools, as currency, as say so many definitions. Product, factor of production, competitive advantage. Many authors, books, they refer to it as whatever. But the important people, for the sake of this conference or your theme here, is all of them. You come across them in your teaching to students in classrooms. Resources. Remember the definition I said earlier. The definition of the organization, there is a resources factor, whether it's threshold or it's strategic. Tools, assets, currency, and so on. Products, in product development, in product life cycle. We use this terminology. This is all about knowledge. Wellspring, system, and so on. Now, the evidence in the World Bank, and that's why the United Nations took their knowledge seriously from 1992, because the evidence came to the United Nations and the World Bank, the IMF, to every organization in the world that's economists at the World Bank studied Ghana and Republic of Korea. And they said these are two countries started in the 1958 or in the 50s with the same GDP, gross domestic products. So the outcome or the output or the productivity of these two countries, it used to be the same, Korea and Ghana. Korea represent the Asian, Ghana represent the Africans or the developing countries, and so on. As time goes by, 60s, 70s, 80s, 90s, the gap in the productivity, in the total output, in the economy, in the gross domestic products between Korea and Ghana is so wide. And all the economists of the World Bank, this is a famous work in knowledge economy, they said they attributed most of this to do with knowledge. And no wonder, 2017, Korea was #1 in the entire world in the digital native. Korea is #1 in the entire world in the highest broadband coverage. Korea is #1 in the entire world in terms of combating or managing itself from collapse at the 2008 financial crisis. So this graph really led to people understand the importance of knowledge. So if you look to Taiwan and other Korean countries in 1960, the same like African nation. If you look, in fact, I remember when I presented this, I can't remember in Sudan or in one conference, a professor from Sudan, he told me, he said to me, Alam, shall I tell you one thing? I said, yeah, go ahead. He said to me, in Sudan, which is an African country, there is an institute called the Industrial Research and Consultancy Institute, which is a government institute. Industrial Research and Consultancy Institute. And there's another one, equivalent, doing the same. Both of them established at the same time, one in Korea, and this is in Sudan. And you can see the differences. They're both doing research. He said to me, I can give you another example between Korea and African countries. And you can see how much that was advanced by time, and how the one we have in Sudan did not manage to grow as faster as the one. At the same time, in Sudan, we have a big research center called the Mycetoma Research Center. It's been referred to by the World Health Organization as the Center for Excellence in this particular disease. So you can see, you don't need to be in America, or you don't need to be, if you deploy knowledge, part of the success of that center, I think to some extent is knowledge sharing, knowledge management, and so on. But let us just quickly move from this. Now, knowledge is two parts, and the best way to describe them, explicit and implicit. We don't normally worry. Anyone in knowledge management or in this field, he or she doesn't worry too much about the explicit. We normally worry about the implicit knowledge. And that implicit knowledge, deep down, is the one which led to the Titanic collapse. You remember the Titanic? When big ships like Titanic are moving on these oceans, they can see the big one on the top, but they can't see the one on the bottom. And that's the problem. So in knowledge management, the one in the top is normally easy to understand, to collect, to archive, to do anything. But the one deep. Now, most countries like the United Kingdom, OCDs in general, Japan, Canada, Australia, blah, 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 they have done their best to manage the explicit knowledge 10 out of 10. Not 10 out of 10, let's give them 9 out of 10, because we're still missing something. But most countries in developing countries, they are still unable to capture, store, share, and change the habit of knowledge management in the explicit one. Publications, you still, in the UK, in Europe, in OECD, we don't talk about universities, how to capture knowledge or how to archive them, because we already have that done, it's done. But countries in developing countries, and this is the two civilizations we mentioned earlier, they are still struggling even to have a record of their own explicit knowledge. The implicit knowledge is a real challenge here. So quickly, because of the time, knowledge, to understand knowledge, you need to go to data, information, and then you go to understand knowledge. It's a very different definition from the normal definition we learn in university. In order to define knowledge, you really need to understand data and information. And in simple terms, this is what we mean. Knowledge, information, and data. Data is a lot of scattered graphs, figures, number of women, number of boys, graduate, postgraduate, whatever it is. These are just scattered units. They are scattered. When you go to do your shopping, I know this sounds very, Alam MEKEI is so simple, but it's true. When you go and do your shopping, they give you a long list by your bartenders. Go and bring this, Alam. You go and buy the tomato, the soup, the toothpaste, the washing liquid. You buy everything. These are data. So when you come home, you bring them 6, 7 big bags. You say, okay, I brought them. I'm not going to organize them in the fridge or in the cupboards. You do your part. I did my part. I went and brought them. So your bartender will then, what she do? She will open up all these bags, and the first thing she does, she sort them out. She puts the fruits together, vegetables together, frozen item together, and so on and so on. And if by mistake you mix the frozen item from the supermarket with the washing liquid, you will not hear a nice voice in the house. What did you do, Alam? Why did you put the frozen fish and chips with the washing liquid? So you understand, the fish, those should be in a different bags. So what she does then, she organizes them. That organization is become information. When any of your children or anyone say, Mom, do we have fruits? She will say, yes, we have banana, we have blah, 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 blah. Why? Because she organized them in one place. She can look at them and she can tell you whether we have, what do we have in the house. But if your daughter asks you that, do we have fruits? You will say yes, and she will tell you which one. You wouldn't be able to answer her because they are all mixed in the other in the back. So we got data, unorganized, scattered, and then we organize it, it becomes information, and then we transform it, and then it becomes knowledge. And we call this the evolution of data. So scattered data, we organize them, they become information, and then we transform them to be ready to use. Transformation, symbol in the house, is making the dish. Yes, You bring the meat, you bring the oil, you bring the cooking oil, you bring the onion, blah, blah, blah. You go to the kitchen, you cook these together, you transform them from being onion, vinegar, fruits, sorry, vegetables, meat. You brought something which can then be used, which used to be to eat it. So the meal is the knowledge. Who will use that meal is the decision maker or the managers. There's a third or a fourth element of that. We don't normally put it in the definition because we don't want people to be confused from the start. We say data, information, and knowledge, but actually we have a fourth one called wisdom. The wisdom is the highest level or a well-cooked meal. You know that when you go to someone, they give you the food, even if you go to a restaurant. If you imagine I invite you for a dinner in one of the restaurants, and we have the dinner, okay, Alam, thank you very much, was wonderful, you travel home. The next day when I meet you, the first thing when I meet you, he will say, oh, Alam, was wonderful meal. Or he will say, oh, thank you, Alam, for the dinner last night. There's two different tones, there are two different meaning, and there's two different feelings. If he enjoyed the meal in that restaurant, he will say, oh, Alam was wonderful. Or one of your other friends or colleagues, he will come and say, oh, Alam, can you please give me more detail about that restaurant? Because X said, oh, it was the best restaurant. It was the best food he ever tasted. But if it was usual or normal, he wouldn't say there is no knowledge. There is knowledge. But he will say, oh, Alam, thank you very much. It was very nice. The same when you're picking someone from the airport. How was your flight? Is the first question. Someone will say, it was good. It was good. The other person will say, oh, Alam, fantastic. And the third person will say, Alam, if you ever going to travel to Saudi Arabia, I encourage you to use Qatar or Emirates, whatever it is. So this is the wisdom. Understanding the principle, understanding the pattern, understanding the gradation. This is how it develops. So wisdom is the highest level for managers or leaders to decide. Now, quickly, we need to ensure high quality of data. And we have a test, we do it the same like doctors take it to the lab, they do a test, we do a test in knowledge management. One of them, we need to make a test if the data is complete. And this is important. Everyone expert on artificial intelligence will tell you, yes, artificial intelligence will help people to predict whether you will have cancer or not. Artificial intelligence will help you to predict Alam will have a heart failure or not. In order to do a good prediction, the artificial intelligence expert or the data scientist will say to you, we need to make sure the data is complete. And then accuracy, and then relevance. Not every data is relevant. And timeliness. And that's why I can give this quickly here, because I remember you were talking about the special issue, and yes, we'll be very pleased, Dr. Komar, we're going to definitely do the special issue for your colleagues. But very common, I have been an editor for many years, very common rejection. Editors, they will say to you, please resubmit after updating your literature review, reflecting on the recent development in the field of the research. You can't submit in 2024 an article with the literature review going back just to 2019. You're just giving yourself a chance to be shot on the leg easily. 5 years before even we look at your paper, review it, and then submit it for revision. If you submit now, it will be published by the end of 2025. And you bring me a data all the way back to 1990. No, I need to see 2021, 2022, 2023, particularly in OECD's countries. You have no excuse if you bring me a data less than 2024, because there are publications as we speak, 2025, and so on. So completeness, accuracy, relevance, timeliness, and appropriateness. But the issue here, the father of data science, the guru of data science, Deming, will tell you, without data, you are just another person with an opinion. Many people, our expert on this, they will tell you, if you without data, really, you have just, this is very famous chart. I always use it. All the experts on this area, they will tell you the same. But the more important thing you need to realize, the data in the World Bank, United Nations, all the report I mentioned earlier, they are not fully available for every country. In OECDs like the UK, France, Japan, and so on, you will find the data of births, deaths, women, male, whatever, all of them is there. But in most countries, it is not. So my advice for all countries, academia, to make sure they help them. Okay, this is how data, you can see scattered. Then you can, once you organize it, you make a graph. And once you make a graph, then you can answer question. What is the rate of change? I can only answer that if I can see an information being transformed. I can only answer that if someone asks me what is causing the change. Why has Al Ain? Al Ain is a city, a municipality in United Arab Emirates. This is from the work we did in United Arab Emirates. Why has Al Ain peaked in March? Why? Then I will be able to answer if I have the data being organized and that information, and then I don't want, because I know your business school, you are, most of you have expertise, and this is your area, information management. I don't want people to confuse that with this. Information management is a different cycle, involves storing, acquiring. Yes, we acquire, we store, we process, we access, but these are two different from knowledge management, and this is not the time here to discuss it. Quickly, managers spend 2 hours from Accenture, for example, searching for information. 50% found information is of no value. That's why AI is trying to help you now. But if you don't use AI carefully, you will lose. 35% searching for information, only 40 can find it, and so on. I need to move because of the time. The example we normally give here, many organizations, many people, they don't realize that only 10% of the information or available in the organization is actually shared in the main servers or in the main shared platform of the organization. And 20% of the information is actually in people personal files, USBs. But the big amount of information you need to capture is from the employees. Now you have seen me, I talked to you, I learned a lot. I've been to India, I learned a lot. I've been to to Indonesia, I learned a lot. I've been to America, I learned a lot from the way people do things. This is the information you need to capture. 70% is missing from you. Now, if you are doing exam, most of you are academics, and there are 10 chapters. If the students only have read 1 chapter, so you can tell him from the start, you will fail, because you missed or you are missing 90%. Therefore, in the organization, if you are only sharing 10%, which more studies have said that means the organization is doomed to failure. Quickly, a very nice quote from HP, which we all use. Even this computer I'm using, I don't know if HP, I don't know, it's Dell, sorry. If HP knew what HP knows, we would be 3 times more profitable. So it is important to manage knowledge. What is knowledge? The best definition I found, which is our colleague here in the UK, Collison, said, you really don't manage knowledge, but you manage the environment in which the knowledge can be created, discovered, captured, shared, distilled, validated, transferred, adopted, adapted, and applied. I will only use 4 words: created, captured, stored, and shared. But all these words will bring the summary of this. So we need to manage the environment in which these 4 are happening. It's not really managing knowledge itself. Knowledge management is the behaviors, process, standards, and technical solutions that allow you to share and use knowledge to support the organization's strategic goals. The British government, our government here in the UK, define knowledge management exactly. This is word by word. Knowledge management is about building organizational intelligence by enabling people to improve the way they work in capturing, sharing, and using knowledge. It involves using the ideas and expertise. Can you just realize this? Ideas and expertise. When you refer to Alam, Alam got a PhD like all of you in this room. All of us, we can write papers, we publish. There's nothing new here. But what important you need to capture from Alam is his experience. When he arrived in Los Angeles airport and they asked him, oh, sir, yes, this is a true story. Even I was in the American embassy and I said to the guy, yes, let me explain. He said, no, you don't need to explain. I know what happened. 20 years ago at Los Angeles airport, the officer there said to me, sir, according to my records, you haven't left the United States of America. I said, what? Can you believe an official officer at the immigration gate in Los Angeles will say to you, according to my record, this is the United States of America where knowledge management came from. You have not left the United States. If he wasn't an officer and I am at the airport after 9 hours traveling from London, I would have said to him, are you serious? Are you joking? And why? Because when September 11 came, anyone went to the US, there was lots of trouble. If you remember, people didn't know how to deal with it. It was a crisis. So while you are in the US, in the trip I had before, you should show in your departure at that time invoices from the hotel where you stayed, or a written statement from your mother, father, girlfriend, boyfriend, any place where you stayed with family, saying, yes, Alam was here, he arrived on that day, and he left it on that day. Anything to prove you left the United States. This is the greatest country on earth, believe it or not. And I said to him, I'm in front of you. I just arrived from London. How come I've been in the US? I am in the US. He said to me, according to my system, so I have to contact a lot of database, probably security and so on, to make sure you are not the one who didn't leave the United States a long time ago. Just think about it. So if you ask me, I take extra cautious from 2004, whenever I'm traveling to the United States, extra cautious. I take 4 hours, not 3 hours when I'm traveling to the airport. 4 hours, not 3 hours. I don't take a flight which get me to the airport straight to the conference. I fly the day before at least. And I try to fly in the morning. So if they trouble me in the airport, why? Because from experience, nothing to do with PhD or knowledge or any intelligence. What you do by knowledge management, you develop, you create, you build intelligence in the system. So my intelligence in dealing with the US immigration or passport or blah, 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 is from experience and so on. Let's move quickly. Employees, customer, experience from everyone, ideas from everyone, supplier, organization, performance, building on what works well leads to better practice and so on. Always remember lessons learned and so on. So there's a lot of examples across the world. For example, this is maximize productivity in public sector while enhancing public services. Knowledge management help to maximize efficiency across all public services. Develop new consolidated outdated system. A lot of studies have proven that in Germany, it provides positive impact on performance improvement, which we teach in business schools, in multinational corporation, and significant influence in performance of 3,400 companies. So this research looked into 3,400 companies, and they realized deploying knowledge management will help them. This in Malaysia in 2002, very famous work, improved work quality of work, organization efficiency, better decision making, and so on. So there's a lot of this. This is all we got. It helped to bring together people and information through a community of practice. This is another one. Now this community of practice is actually the group you have in your WhatsApp. You call it a WhatsApp group, or the group of my university friend, or the group of my family across the whole world. It is a community of practice, which is one of the concept of the knowledge management, and so on and so on. Encourage new ways of working, making knowledge sharing business as usual. The same like we do gossip, we talk about everything. We want to make knowledge management in the organization is just the sharing business as usual. It's a usual thing we do. Build quality into the system, create environment which encourage continuous learning, provide data standards for performance, provide better service, because we want to be great, not to be good. Quickly, there's a lot of technology we use in knowledge management, because I know your school, but the important thing is not all aspects in the whole building or the house, we only use technology here in the integrated KM processes and activities, and in the information technology and people. You can see at the bottom is support. On the top, you have strategy and organizational strategy and the knowledge strategy. And now we add to them technology strategy. What does that mean? Managing knowledge, as Collins said, you manage the way we create, share, and so on. But it's not all about technology. It's about support. What support mean? The CEO, I have been asked this question in the United Arab Emirates. Yes, Alam, you are leaving us now, and you created a new body the first time happening in the government of Abu Dhabi. Where we should leave this office in the government, and to whom it should report? And my answer was simple, straight. This knowledge management office we created for the government of Abu Dhabi as the pilot should be directly sitting next or in the office of the minister, and it should report to the minister, because the bottom line, the importance part to make this organization, this new body of the organization successful is the support needed across the whole journey. Who will provide the support? Is the minister. So this is what you should take it, and they did. The first government office of knowledge management in Abu Dhabi. And by the way, UAE was one of the first countries to be in the top 5 across the world in the 50% broadband exposure requested by the United Nations. Yes, before all other countries, although Saudi Arabia and Bahrain, they are now really exceeding, but just this is facts. Now, quickly, 5 stages to do that in your organization or in your company. You need to scan the environment. You need to see how ready you are, the same like COVID, we said before. You need to have a strategy, and then you need to have a framework to develop, and then to deploy that one, and then to ensure this will be sustainable. Example we always use is Ford company, Toyota company. Toyota is a Japanese, Ford is an American company, you may remember. They have done a lot of, particularly Meyer and Verchi, they did a lot of work on knowledge transfer. And they found that companies like Toyota, like Ford and others, they do have lots of manufacturing plant across the whole world. The productivity of the same company in the country of origin is not the same like the productivity of the same company, although the manufacturing plant is a copy-based. If you look to Toyota, for example, Japan is where they start working, but they have a manufacturing plant in South Africa. They have one in Argentina. They have one in, where is it? In Poland, I think. 56 countries, Thailand, they produce Toyota. The productivity of the same company, copy-based factory, is not the same. Why? Because the culture, the nature of the people, the skill of people, and so on and so forth and so on. This is all you need to take into account. The more you can minimize the losses from the same productivity of the same company, the more you have ensured that the knowledge is being transferred fully. But more importantly, if you manage knowledge carefully within any organization, this gap in the productivity will be decreased. The power of knowledge, one good example is United Arab Emirates. I'm sorry, I just use this example because it's a good example from a company or country fully depending on oil. From 1990s, it start to get away from oil. And if you remember, this is a cover from The Economist, more than, I think, this is 20 years ago. No, I think, I don't know, 20 years maybe. I can't remember the exact time. This is from The Economist. The Economist's famous article about knowledge economy, they said the whole world now is not going to be based on oil. You can see the picture. And at that time, when they put Google, Microsoft, Amazon, and Uber, and Tesla, and so on, as an example, it's not about oil, it's about knowledge. So the whole war is in Ukraine. The problem with Russia and Europe is the gas. Gas is a derivative or one of the output of the oil. If you can rely on knowledge, and this is what UAE has done, then followed by Kuwait, Saudi Arabia, Qatar, all of them. They have the oil, but they are, and this is a famous work we did called Transforming the United Arab Emirates into a Knowledge-Based Economy. Imagine a country very rich in oil. They convinced they have to leave it, and this takes us back to the one we did before. I would like to add one thing from Alexander, he's a Harvard economist. He said each country had its own distinctive resources and stage of backwardness. I add to this definition, each company, each organization has its own distinctive resources and stage of backwardness. Backwardness, which would strongly influence any potential growth. So if you look to Brazil, if you look to us in the UK, our backwardness of failing, I don't want to use the word failing, but not being able to achieve the European Cup twice now, and the World Cup will really affect our ability to get it in the next. Spain, they took the European Cup from us very easy in the last European Cup because Spain, their backwardness is less severe like us. We didn't have this cup for many years, from 1960s. Spain have succeeded. They captured that one in South Africa and others. So your backwardness really have an impact on your forwardness. So your backwardness, which would strongly influence any potential growth. The higher degree of backwardness, the more discontinuous the development is likely to be. And I know someone will easily jump to me. He'll say to me, Alam, does that mean developing countries or a company which is just starting up may not become competitive and they can grow? The answer is no. The answer is that we want you to use knowledge, as we show you in the graph, in order to jump. Without using the knowledge, you will not jump. The question, many of the football, I'm a football fan, but I'm not an expert on football. You know, we teach sport here in Loughborough University, top university, they teach sport. one of their module called David Beckham module, for example. I remember this. Now, the question we need to understand, we need to really develop a knowledge management to understand why our British players, they play so well in the Premium League now, but they don't play very well when it comes to World Cup or European Cup. The same players, our own players, they are the best in the Premium League. On Saturday tomorrow, the best are British. Our British players, they play very well for Manchester City. But when it comes to the World Cup, to the European Cup, they don't play the same. Why? That's need knowledge. Knowledge, you only need to find out. So quickly, this is the work we did. We connected this. This was in Australia and Brisbane. I hope there is people from Brisbane here, Dr. Mu'azzam at that time. We connected, we said, we argued in 2007, sustainable development cannot be achieved without knowledge management. This is our famous work. I remember Maureen at that time, she looked at this book and she found it in almost every university we found it, Harvard, Oxford, Cambridge, in Turkey, South Africa, in Qatar, every country we found it. So if you don't have it, please let me know and I will send you a copy. It's very famous work. There's a 50-something chapter in this book. United Nations Sustainable Development came in 1987 with the Brenda's report. This is a lady who used to be the Prime Minister of Norway. And it's very simple. They said sustainable development is the development that meets the need of the present without compromising the ability of future generations. Simply, it's a development which will satisfy me, but it does not affect my kids. But now, comprising the ability of future, the present. Present is what I told you earlier. At the present, we are in the post-COVID-19. So whatever we're going to be consuming now, at the present, now, we need to make sure it will not affect our generation in the future. One important thing about this report, which is the most famous, this is #1 issue in the United Nations system, is called our common future, because it is our common future. But when this report was established by the United Nations, interestingly, you can see, we in the developing countries, Sudan, Zimbabwe, where else? India is included, Colombia. There's a lot of countries from developing countries, they were participating in the round table of this famous report of the United Nations. The vice president, Rahmatullah alayhi, Dr. Mansour Khalid, is a Sudanese. And there's a lot of people in the United Nations will tell you he was the mastermind. He's the one who was the center of the draft. So for countries like Sudan or Africa or Arab countries to say, oh, we don't know how this works, we will say to them, no. Saudi Arabia was involved in hosting the engineering roundtable. Oman was involved. If countries come from Latin America, oh, this is new to us, this is a British American thing. No, it's not a British American. So we really need to read this report. It's still available after so many years, available to download online. So I encourage all academia all the time, go and download the report and read it. Read what these people said 50 years ago. That's my always encouragement. I think I exceeded my time, but I really need to conclude now quickly. A couple of things. Sustainable development is not about the environment, although climate change is the key issue in sustainable development. But there is many aspects we should not really underestimate their power. Politics, political science, social science. People throwing plastic bags because they were not well educated not to throw plastic bag. As simple as that. You can't solve the problem of plastic bag just simply by technology. Rather than investing too much time creating new kind of plastic bag which are not going to destroy the environment, just educate the kids. Educate them not to throw plastic bags. The second thing is countries are different. We are very different. We're not going to be the same. Neither developed countries nor developing countries can do it in isolation. And the example I always give in Australia, if you go to Australia during the summer, they will tell you, Alam, we have a shortage of water. Australia having a shortage of water. Why? Because this is what happened. Fires happening in Australia every year. In our South Europe here, every year they lose life. So it's affecting everyone. The impact of climate change or sustainability or sustainable development is everywhere. The important piece of themes we started to talk to students, to kids, to schools. We want kids, my kids and your kids, to be told in the household and in the school that although we're doing everything to make sure they can have enough in the future, they are also similarly responsible to make sure they will get enough in the future. Because simply, one example, and I have only touched my mobile phone, the first mobile phone, I touched it after I graduated from the university. But my daughters, who is 9 years old, she touched a mobile phone when she was 3 or 4 years old. They consume a lot of energy using this mobile phone. The latest study in the UK about the impact of mobile phone or screen in general on kids' eyes is serious. And the answer is, parents, you need to take your kids away from mobile phone. It affects their lives. So you can see the amount of energy being consumed. And the famous study, I stopped using it, but you can really refer to it. It's by University of East London and Bristol, and I think University in Brussels. They calculated the amount of energy being used or electricity to watch live streaming, such as Despacito song, you know, the Costa Rican one. And they found the amount of viewers live streaming like this. This is live stream now, because you watch me live now. Live streaming is very expensive from a technological point of view. The amount of people watch that song is 6 point something out of 7 million and a billion. And they calculate it in their own laboratories. One of them is actually in East London, the professors. They found that the amount of energy consumed to watch this Despacito song is equivalent to amount of energy or electricity consumed by, I can't remember, 5 or 7 African countries. Can you imagine? By watching this live stream, you're causing how much damage to the environment. And that's why their advice from the research is to watch it, not live stream. Education in the center of this knowledge and innovation, but education is critical. Without education, you cannot solve it. This is the bottom line. And then the knowledge, I'm happy to come and talk next time, really, because I know you gave me 1 hour, but I really exceeded my time now. But the knowledge economy is a big story from the World Bank. Many people, they don't even understand what is knowledge economy, why it is important, why countries are now investing on knowledge. I'm very happy, Dr. Kumar, to come next time. I will do it. We need also to remind ourselves globally, we share challenges together. Conflict and terrorism, clear. We just finished with, not finished, even Gaza, not even yet sorted, jumped the story to, what is it, Lebanon. Sudan, I was watching in the BBC last night, just last night. It is a huge disaster worldwide. It's not about the millions have been forced to leave their countries, but you can hear directly in the BBC news last night about women publicly with their faces open on the camera for the BBC, telling the BBC, we have been raped continuously, regularly. And at the same times, in the same BBC news, at 10 last night, the main news was the number of women being raped or alleged to being raped by Muhammad al-Fayed in, Harrods. Still now they are 19, maybe 20, maybe 30, maybe 1,000. Let's call them 1,000. The whole, even Prime Minister are now, they will ask him about this. Rape is rape. It's the ugliest action on earth. But if in the same news, you can see millions, not marginalized, but we don't even listen to them. One of the ladies in that BBC news last night, she said, where is the world in Arabic? So conflict and terrorism is there. Ukraine is a good example, and there's so many in Asia, in Africa, and so on. Water resources, we are struggling. The big conflict between Sudan, Egypt, and Ethiopia is on water. That war where the president of Egypt threatening he will use his war planes if Ethiopia did blah, 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 because of water. Trump called them to the White House when you can see we all share lots of big problems. Energy and security, health, COVID is enough, malaria is enough, ecosystem. By the way, the number of people killed or died from malaria in Africa is bigger than the number of people killed from COVID. Climate change, minerals, food production. And by the way, Russia is one of the countries, one of the wealthiest countries in the world in terms of minerals. Food production, many people said to me, Alam, I never thought When the war in Ukraine started, our government here keep telling us why wheat and bread is so expensive, because we used to import wheat from Ukraine. Everyone in the United Kingdom was shocked. What? Really? Are we used to, or do we get wheat to eat from Ukraine? We are a big country. We have farming. And the fact is, yes. But what many people, I said to them, you don't know, Ukraine used to export wheat to 38% of the world demand. This is a small country, you see it is small. They produce wheat so efficiently, and they send it to 38% of the world demand, believe it or not. So we need to educate ourselves, we need to understand, and so on and so forth. Population is the driver. Everything here is about the main driver is the population. The conference this month or next month, I can't remember, in Egypt about this issue, population and global health, I can't remember. If anyone interested, but really there are now people looking at population impact on all these issues. I like this from the Egyptian Academy of Science. They said the way academia or scientists in Egypt advise their government. This is really, I like it. And I think we should learn from each other. In Egypt, they said, in order to help our country understand these global challenges, we identified as scientists in the Egyptian Academy of Scientific Research and Technology, what are the Egyptian challenges in terms of sustainability? And we put them down, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, whatever it is. And they said, we try to match them with the global challenges. So they said, the research found the global challenge for the whole world is sustainable development and climate change. And the scientists in Egypt, they found the same. Excellent. Number 2, water, clean water is the second important global challenge. We need to make sure we address it in our public policy. The Egyptian scientists, they said, yes, this is number 2. When it comes to number 3, worldwide population and resources, the Egyptian scientists, they found it to be number 8 in Egypt. It doesn't matter what you find. Number 3 for Egypt is energy. For example, you scientists, you academia, you need to do the same. What is important in the UK not necessarily is the important one in your country, and you need to help your country understand the global challenges from the dimension or from the angle or from the eye of the internal challenges. And this is the SDG, you all need it. Now, the UN is not talking about achieving them now. They are talking about accelerating. Unfortunately, we're supposed to achieve them by 2030. We are not, unfortunately. I know it's negative, but this is not even the Secretary General is saying the same because of many reasons, but at least people, they agree it's not all about COVID. At least we're not going to put the blame all on COVID. It's not COVID, there's a lot of things. So the UN now talking about accelerating. We need to really run fast, not really what we expect you to do before, because you can see the yellow color is what we are expecting it to have been. The green is what we have achieved. But if you look to the red one, is we haven't done it. So you can see in 6 years' time or 5 years' time, likely we will not reach it. This is a UN own statistics. Some indicators critical, we still don't know how to find it. That's maybe it's food for thought for researchers, like education for sustainable development. This is a critical target for me, for many people. You want to educate kids across the world, in India, in Africa, in Sudan, in Egypt, in America, in the UK, about being a good citizen, about being someone who will not throw a plastic bag, someone he will go to the beach in Brighton, but after he finishes, he will remind his dad and mom to clean what they have done. This is a big problem in all beaches across the whole world. People leave rubbish, which costs thousands of pounds, millions across the whole world, and billions to clean the rubbish of people. Just coming to have fun at the beach, they leave plastic bags, their drinks, and everything. Imagine if each one of them, at the time you go to the beach, you're carrying lots of bags, drinks, blah, 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 food, barbecue, blah, 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 okay? You carry it on your back. You go to the beach, you enjoy the beach until 6 o'clock. You want to go back home to your car. Why not in the same bags? You take your rubbish in the same bags and go and get rid of it somewhere else. This needs education and good citizen. That's it, no technology here. Rather than we waste our time on recycling, these guys, they need to take their stuff with them. Now, education for sustainable development and global citizen, the UN is still struggling. How do we measure this? So who can help them? Is you, the academia, the expert, the professor, and so on. Interestingly, this is the data from the World Bank, sorry, the United Nations data. It's called our data in World Data in World in Data. It's hosted by Oxford University. You can see it. All the red one, that means we don't really have, according to our knowledge, there is no current data available. Believe it or not, the UN acknowledges that. So if you look, for example, to peace, justice, and strong institution, now we have war in Palestine, in Lebanon, in Sudan, in Ukraine. It's all about peace, justice, and strong institution. If we can, even just 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 are green. We have data to measure this. A lot of red colors. Cease or surrender arms. Imagine, we don't have any data to use about seized and surrender arms because people are being killed by arms and we don't have a data to calculate that. Bribery in public, corruption in public, we don't have good data to correct. So you can see the best one really, which is good news, is the health. We have a lot of data because people, number one, by the way, publications in SDGs relating to health. Worldwide, in all the SDGs, the 17 of them, the best one so far, number one, is health, which is good. Well done for the health. I know, we all know health research is quite advanced than any other health other research in social science and so on. Using artificial intelligence for achieving sustainable development. Excellent example is what happened in New York 2 days ago. Our team was there. The United Nations now is launching digital for sustainable development in the entire Arab countries. The United Nations Secretary General believed strongly AI will be the answer to accelerate sustainable development. We had our outlook last year. We had this year, just now 2 months ago, a lot of papers. Experts have talked about how AI will help. This is just a snapshot example how AI can help to achieve all of them. So this is really a hope. For a last maybe 2-3 minutes, sorry, the chair, about those who they asked me about what career should be in the future in sustainable development. The first one, Deming said the following: 85% of the reasons for failure in all our systems or organizations are deficiencies in the system and processes rather than the employees. So the big problem, 85%, this is a percentage by the top or the guru of data science. He said systems are not working or failure in this system, 85% to do with the efficiency or the robustness of the system, not the people. So we need to fix the systems, which is data science, data analytics, and so on. The role of management is to change the process rather than to badgering individual to do better. So if the productivity is not doing well, don't think it's the people, it's the system. So you need to improve the system. And the picture on my right, if you don't know how to use them, it will never be enough. If you buy good systems, AI techniques, if you don't know how to use them, it will never going to give you that efficiency Deming talked about. This is famous, very famous graph. I always, sorry, slide I take. Where are you, Alam? I'm going to work. Where are you? I'm at work. Where are you? I'm going back home. So I'm in my home now. I'm not going to office today, but imagine on Monday. Where are you, Alam? I'm at home. Where are you, Alam? I'm in my way to work to the university. Where are you, Alam? I am at the university doing my work. Where are you, Alam? Oh, I'm on my way back home. Most productivity expert or organizational expert, organizational productivity expert, they will tell you this will not improve productivity. You need to have one additional, which is improve. You go to work, have fun, coffee break, lunch break, blah, blah, blah. Make sure every day you're going back home, you have improved one thing for yourself or one thing for the organization. And the role of the organization leaders is to ensure the organization is so sophisticated and enabling people to improve their productivity, and the environment is so much enabling, accommodating, helping people to generate knowledge and intelligence. And the fact of the matter, before I came on air with you to join this lecture, I just clicked accepting one of the meetings. Every month in my organization or in my university, in the Innovation Hub, every month. We have, they call it, monthly breakfast. And the people responsible for that innovation center in Queen Mary, they really bring a good breakfast, fruits, vegetables, sandwiches, drinks. So you can actually have your breakfast there every month. It's beautiful because, for example, on the top of my office there is AstraZeneca people. I can meet them, I can chat to them. The idea is all people in that building, irrespective of who they are, they come down, have coffee, tea, and breakfast together every month. And it happened. Last time I went, last month, I met 4 people from a company doing security, cyber security, blah, blah, blah. And then I told them, tell me who you are, what you do, blah, blah, blah. And I said to him, by the way, since you're doing that, apart from the academic side, I am looking after a big organization called WAS, blah, blah, blah. He said to me, is it profit or non-profit? I said, it's non-profit. He said, fine. Do you believe it, Alam? We can help you in security for free because our company had that grant to help non-for-profit organization. And then he sent me the email and so on and so on. So this is all about improvement. Now we're going back. You make sure in the future, any job you take, remember, any job now does not have an impact on the community. It will be closed. As the shops I told you on Oxford Street. My nicest example. Many people, they don't know this story. Maybe many people, they may have stayed in Airbnb. What is Airbnb? You're traveling to New York, you're coming to London, you rent a room with Alam in his flat. You simply go and rent a room in someone's house. But no one really realized why it was successful. It was successful because Brian, or the people who invented this concept, not technology, concept, using the technology, but the concept, they said, yeah, maybe Alam is sitting in a 3-bedroom house, he got 2 rooms, maybe he's living alone, he's traveling, he wants to rent it his house, whatever it is. So they said, why not we allow him to rent it? Okay, but the problem is if Alam wants to rent his house, he have to keep this. If I'm renting my house, I can't store all these books. I have to leave them as they are. So they managed to understand the way it can be because it's not a hotel. So what they did, they said in order to understand how people will be willing and able to rent their house, let's go and stay in people's houses. And that's what they did. So you need to be able to connect with your customer in order to understand how to make it. So I'm finished here. You need to look into your goals, the competition, and the stakeholders. In terms of data science, I just wanted to make one slide to finish. Data science is a science which connects math and statistics. It connects computer science and it connects what we call it business and knowledge domain. There's a lot of things involved in data science. But in artificial intelligence, relating to this one, there's other issues which you need to understand in terms of mathematics, statistics, computer science, and so on. What's so important, what our government here launched last year, very successfully, called conversion courses, which I encourage anyone in the UK to take it, and those are abroad to universities to think about it. Conversion courses, because of the importance of artificial intelligence and data science, we want to fast track, we want to accelerate people knowing at least knowledge, artificial intelligence and data science. Not necessarily they need to have math or statistic background. They don't necessarily need to have computer background. What we call it is conversion. Let's teach them what is artificial intelligence. Let's teach them one of the programming like Python or whatever it is. So yes, if you want to take this career for the future, if you want to be a data scientist, there's a lot of things you have to study: machine learning, software development, traditional research, math, statistics, maybe all this stuff. But if you want to jump quickly to understand what you might need as a minimum in terms of artificial intelligence and how it predicts the future, you can do a course called conversion courses. You can be from any background, from medicine, from agriculture, from science, from engineering, from anything. It's called conversion, and you can look for these courses. I stop here. I sincerely apologize. I took too much time. I hope it was useful, and I hope I have added something to your understanding, although I didn't give time, so I will learn more about you, but I'm really sorry if I took more than my time. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much for the insights, Dr. Alam. It was, very, first of all, very, very energetic, and what do we say, with full of facts and knowledge. I can see on your face the way you have delivered this session. All the listeners, they enjoyed the learning during your session. It was very much backed up with the data, and the slides were very, very much knowledgeable. Once again, on behalf of Rushford Business School, I'd like to thank you for joining this research conclave and delivering a keynote and it was really an impactful keynote. Before you go, I request all of you, if you all can, turn on your camera for a minute so that we can take a screenshot of all of you before Professor Allam will leave. All of you can turn on your camera for a minute. Krishna Veni, Shraddha Gupta. If I can see you all for a minute for a screenshot. Yes, please smile. Because it is good to see smiling faces in the conclaves. Good to go. We are good to go for the click now. Yes. Thank you, all of you, for the nice click. I'll send you the screenshot, Professor Allam, and I'll send you all screenshot of the session, so you can use it. Now we will start with our presentation.
Thank you very much. Bye-bye. Yeah, thank you very much. Bye-bye.
Thank you, Dr. Allam, once again. So now we will start with the track 3 of for today. And for track 3, we have our session track chair, Dr. Arya Kumar, and Dr. Harshi Naik is with us, and the session coordinator, Krishna Veni. So Krishna Veni, take hold of the session and start the track 3 presentations.
Thank you, Prof. Anush. Okay, we have reached the second day of Research Conclave on the day 227. A very good afternoon, good morning.